So when you think of a fighter jet, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it some super sleek interceptor built for nothing but pure blistering speed? Or maybe a heavy bomber designed to just haul tons and tons of weapons? For a long time, those were totally separate jobs. But today's combat jet, well, it's a completely different animal. It's not a specialist anymore, it's a decathlete. And we're about to break down exactly what that means.
This is the key idea right here. Think about it like you're building an Olympic team, but you decide to only hire 100-meter sprinters. Sure, you'd be untouchable in that one race, but what happens when you need someone for the marathon or the hurdles? You'd be stuck. For decades, that's kind of how air forces worked, a different sprinter plane for every single task. The decathlete, though, it aims to do it all. One plane for a whole bunch of missions. So why the big change?
Well, you probably guessed it. Like so many things, it really just comes down to money. Trying to maintain these boutique fleets, one special plane for intercepting enemies, another for hitting ground targets, a third for reconnaissance, it's just astronomically expensive. The cost of just developing, buying, and then maintaining all those different planes, all the unique spare parts, all the separate pilot training, it just became totally unsustainable for pretty much everyone.
So all that economic pressure, it forced a completely new way of thinking, a new gold standard for what a fighter jet should be. And that standard has a name that just perfectly captures what it's all about: swing roll. Now, swing roll isn't just, a mechanic on the ground swapping out weapons between missions. No. This is the really cool part. It's about a pilot in the air, in the middle of a mission, who can literally flip a switch and change jobs. I mean, they could be heading to bomb a target, get a sudden alert about an enemy fighter, and bam, in seconds, their systems are reconfigured for a dogfight. It's that real-time, on-the-fly adaptability that really defines these modern jets.
So when we say different mission types, what are we really talking about? Well, let's break it down. For air-to-air, you're looking at things like just patrolling your own airspace or escorting bigger, more vulnerable planes. For air-to-ground, that could be anything from dropping a precision bomb on a specific building to providing close air support for troops on the ground, or even taking out enemy radar sites. And that's not even all of it. You've got electronic warfare, striking ships out at sea, the whole shebang. And one single type of plane is expected to do it all.
Okay, so enough with the theory, right? Let's get real. This whole idea isn't just on paper. These things are flying right now, all over the planet. So let's meet some of the most famous decathletes ruling the skies today.
This table gives you a fantastic look at the big players. You've got the American F-35, whose whole deal is being stealthy and acting like a flying supercomputer that shares data with everyone. Then there's the French Rafale. They call it Omnirole, and it's even trusted to carry France's nuclear weapons. Russia's Su-35 flanker is just legendary for its mind-bending maneuverability. You've got the Eurofighter Typhoon, which started as a pure air-to-air specialist and grew into a beast of a ground attack jet. And of course, the F-18 Super Hornet, the absolute workhorse of the U.S. Navy's aircraft carriers. They're all decathletes, but, each one has its favorite events.
So the big question is, how on earth does one single machine pull all of this off? It's not magic, I promise. It's this incredible combination of clever engineering and some seriously powerful tech, all built on three key pillars. Let's walk through it. First up is the ASEA radar. Think of this as the jet's superpowered eyes. Unlike older radars, it can literally scan the sky for enemy planes and scan the ground for targets at the exact same time. It's wild. Second, you have modular hardpoints. Those are just the fancy name for the stations under the wings where you can hang a totally custom mix of weapons: bombs for the ground, missiles for the air, extra fuel tanks for long trips. And finally, the brain of the whole operation: millions and millions of lines of code. This advanced software is constantly adjusting how the jet flies, making it feel smooth and stable, whether it's loaded down with bombs or totally clean and ready to dogfight.
Okay, but it can't all be perfect, right? There has to be a catch. If you design one airplane to be a jack of all trades, don't you run the risk of it becoming a master of none? The thing is, all this versatility, it doesn't come free. There are some huge trade-offs baked right into the DNA of a multi-role fighter.
And this right here, it just sums up the whole dilemma perfectly. The master of none challenge. That is the central problem, the constant push and pull at the heart of every single one of these aircraft designs. So let's take a look at what that challenge really means in the real world. Problem number one is just basic physics. A jet loaded down with bombs for a ground mission is super heavy, and it creates a ton of aerodynamic drag. It's just not going to be as fast or as nimble as a fighter that was designed only for air-to-air combat. So if that jet gets ambushed by an enemy fighter, the pilot has to make a really terrible choice. hit a button, and dump millions of dollars worth of weapons into the ocean, just to lighten the plane enough to survive the fight.
The second issue is the sheer complexity. I mean, you are cramming the super-sensitive electronics for air-to-air radar and ground targeting pods and electronic warfare jammers and so much more all into one very tight airframe. This incredible density of technology means that just keeping the plane working is a massive headache. These jets are famous for being really, really hard and time-consuming to maintain. They can spend hours and hours on the ground with technicians for every single hour they spend in the air.
And finally, you get to the most important component of all, the human being in the cockpit. The jet might be a decathlete, but the pilot is still a person. Think about it. A pilot in a specialized interceptor could spend their whole career perfecting that one single art of air-to-air combat. But a multi-role pilot, they have to be good at a dozen different, really complex skill sets. It becomes almost impossible to reach that true ace level of mastery in any one thing when your brain is constantly having to switch gears and train for everything else.
And yet, after all of that, despite the performance compromises, the maintenance nightmares, the incredible strain on the pilots, the decathlete isn't going anywhere. Because at the end of the day, for almost every air force on the planet, the simple cost-effectiveness and the pure flexibility of having one plane that can do almost everything, it just outweighs all of those downsides. It is the standard, and it's here to stay.
Which brings us to a really fascinating final thought. As new technology, like artificial intelligence and autonomous drone wingmen, start to come online, will we finally see the decathlete overcome its compromises? Could it become a true master of all trades? Or is it possible the pendulum will swing back the other way and we'll see a whole new generation of hyper-specialized aircraft for a new kind of warfare? The answer to that question is going to define what our skies look like for years to come.